Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jeff, and today we're going to be taking a look at my new-to-me 2003 Ford Mustang GT, and it is a coupe, and it does have the 5-speed, so it's a little bit rough, but that's okay because the parts it's particularly rough, and we're going to be either replacing or we're going to be changing it to something else, so that's totally fine. But I figured I'd go ahead and walk you guys through the car in its current state, and then we'll go ahead and keep uploading regular videos as the car gets new parts, to essentially make even what's hopefully going to be my ideal per se 2003 Ford Mustang GT. So let me show you what's going on here. So first of all, this car is finished in ebony black, and it does have the charcoal black interior as well. So it's kind of a cool menacing match, and then it has this red stripe that's been added that's probably going to get removed. Looking at the front, we have our very epic hood scoop, and then at some point it was given really sketchy headlights, and then the guy I bought it from decided to change it to these clears. I may potentially change it back to the factory with the orange side turn signals, but that remains to be seen. We'll have to see what we end up messing with. Over here, we have some drilled and slotted brake rotors that have been added as well, which, not the worst thing in the world. It will make the brake pads wear just a little bit faster, but that's not that big of a deal. We have some Cobra wheels that have been added as well. These are reps of some sort that have been added. I definitely don't like the wheels, so these will be getting changed out at one point. So this is a Sumo Tumo tire. I want you to remember that as we go through the other car. So over here, we have a 40th anniversary badge. So this is a 2003. The 40th anniversary should be reserved for the 2004 cars, of course, when the original Mustang came out in 1964 and a half. So this is wrong. This was replaced. What would have been a GT badge at some point, but we already have some replacement GT badges on the way, so that's not a big deal. We have this. This is the really part of one of the worst cosmetic things that's been done. At some point, I imagine a curb or something was hit that really broke a lot of the attachments for this. So I've already managed to find some parts to replace this and put this back on correctly, but we'll have to figure that out when we get there, because of course this is really ugly as it sits, just hanging down off loose like that, right? So we don't have the fold-in mirrors. I know that's one of the premium options. Not the case on this car. We have some hood scoops. We even got some extra parts. And then here you can see the paint is fading. So these cars in particular, the SN95 Mustangs, are well known for having very dodgy paint. So this isn't really a big deal. We'll be going over this with some 800 grit, respraying it black and then clearing it, and it should look a lot like the rest of the body. And you'll have to forgive me, the car's a little bit dirty right now. It's got some really bad tint on it, as you can see from some of the bubbling. Even in the rear, that when I look in the rear view mirror, you can actually see like how blurry it is. You can't even make out what's behind you. Now this wing has faded particularly bad, but this will be getting replaced as well, so that's not really that big of a deal. In the back here, we have a Nitto tire. So again, we've got a good theme going here. Clearly, you want the performance tire on the rear, or if we check the other side here, there's no GT badge on the back, which I believe there should be. And a weird part about these cars, the gas cap is actually over here on the passenger side, which is funny because typically American cars will put it on the driver's side and foreign cars have it on the passenger side, but that's not the case of the SN95. If we come over here, we have it's actually a Nitto. I thought it was going to be another brand. This tire has been curb rashed. Somebody really beat this one up, and it's missing the center cap, the Cobra center cap. Looks like somebody tried to stab it there. That's pretty interesting, but these tires are pretty old. They're from 2017, so I need to look into getting that replaced at some point. And then we have a Century tire over here. So we have two different tires on the front, and then two Nittos on the rear, which is kind of interesting. One tire is from 2021. It looks like this is also from 2017. So these tires are pretty old, not much tread life left on them. The Nittos don't look too bad, but the 2021 tires are the newest. We got some more clear coat fading on the front. Again, we'll be touching that up later. So taking a look at the interior, back seats look great. The seat belts, unfortunately, are well worn out on both the passenger and driver's side. Another problem, they just don't retract, so we'll be replacing those at some point. It has these terrible seat covers that are just way too big in the car. You can see how they bunch up. We'll be replacing that. This is already a lot of the extra parts that'll be getting replaced. You can see our 5-speed manual in there, which has actually already featured a short shift kit. So at some point, somebody decided they didn't like the long throw, went ahead, replaced it with a short shift kit, and we also have an aftermarket radio. Those are two mods I'm not totally upset about because the aftermarket radio was going to happen anyways, and the short shift kit is one of the most often recommended recommendations for these cars, so that's okay with me. We have no cracks in the dash or anything, which is pretty nice. Everything looks really good there, and this car only has about 130,000 miles on it, which isn't too bad in my book. This is the 4.6 liter V8, so this should last forever. But let me show you some other features first we'll go ahead and we'll pop the hood real fast so I can show you guys what's been done, because it actually has some performance mods that have already been done to it. So we'll go ahead. Oh, interesting. So I just reprogrammed two remotes for this, and now the original remote doesn't appear to be working. So I'm guessing I can only have 2 registered to the car at a time. So if I hit one of the new ones, yep, and then it works. Interesting. So the SN95 will actually only let you have 2 registered fobs at a time. Good to know, I guess. That makes the old one obsolete, but I'll keep it. So I can always reprogram it should I lose one of the fobs. So this, it's not functional, but it is menacing and it looks really good from inside the car. The hood latch is kind of janky. So I've already got a part to replace that. That's not a big deal, but let's check out what's going on in here. So like I mentioned, this is the 4.6 liter V8. So if you take a look there, we actually have the BBK throttle body. So that's a 78mm throttle body that's been upgraded to help induce more air. What I don't like is this is a K&N air intake. Now, I think these are supposed to come with a box. I believe they come with a black plastic housing that's supposed to help protect the air filter from the engine heat. But this one doesn't have it. So this giant air filter just sits in the engine bay. And I imagine I'm losing horsepower because I would assume this air filter is sucking in hot air from being next to the engine. I've seen some kits online that direct it into the fender wells to bring in more cool air, and I think that's what I'm going to swap this with eventually, because I think that makes more sense to pull it from the fender well area over there. Sure, it's more likely to get water in it, but this, I'm pretty sure I'm losing horsepower with this setup. I don't care if it has the BBK throttle body. I don't think this is a good setup for getting air into the car effectively, so we'll have to change that out at some point. Looking at it, looks like we already have the PI intake. I'm not 100% sure. The performance intake looks like it's metal in there, right? So I believe this already has the performance intake as well, so this car is pretty souped up, which is pretty exciting. One thing I didn't mention is that this is a 2003, so one of the cool parts spec-wise, I have to throw it down there and make sure it latches. One of the cool parts spec-wise is that this doesn't come with the standard T5 transmission. This actually has the TR3650, so a little bit of an upgraded transmission for what I believe is 2001 and on, so that's a pretty cool feature. Another thing I want to show you, so we'll go ahead and pop the hood, or the trunk, excuse me, real fast. So go ahead, pop the trunk. That's supposed to pop up, and it doesn't. And the reason for that is our struts are absolutely toast. But here are some of the components I mentioned that were given to me. We have a clean, unused air intake there. And then we have, these are actually for putting them over your rear quarter windows. So you can put in the air intakes kind of like the 67, 68 GT500 style if you wanted to add that in there. And then we have an extra intake for the driver's side, it looks like, that we can replace. That looks like it appears to be in pretty good condition, so we'll probably be changing that out as well. So that's some of the stuff that was handed to me with the car, not so bad. But then there's this. So we have a BBK performance sticker under the hood, and then we have these hooker headers. And I thought that the car might have headers, because it definitely has an exhaust. I'll let you guys listen to that. It's definitely got an exhaust. These cars are generally pretty quiet, but here, take a quick listen. So then I see this hooker headers, and I wondered if it had headers, but looking at it, it looks like the sort of standard rusty, not interesting, whatever bits that are going on with the car. So obviously there's some tacky stuff. Going to be replacing some stuff just because I think it looks a little bit better, like the GT badges, and of course getting rid of things like the Cobra wheels. And I've always loved the Cobra 2000R, so I think we're going to do something similar to that. I wanted a car that wasn't red because I didn't want it to be confused with the Cobra R. And we'll take it from there. So if you guys have any suggestions you want to throw down below, let me know. I'm curious to see what you guys think mods should be done wise. Obviously, a lot of people will do coilovers. I haven't thought about anything like that as far as some of the upgraded performance. We'll finish the exterior, then we'll clean up the... We'll first make sure the car is mechanically sorted, because right now it does have a rack that's leaking, along with a few other things that I need to replace cosmetically, just to make sure it's up to snuff, and mechanically. So mechanically we'll fix everything. Then we're going to focus a little bit on the aesthetics of the car, cleaning it up, repainting some of those faded areas I talked about, and then we'll look more into the performance, because I know, like I said, I think I'm losing horsepower with that intake, so we're going to be replacing that, and then we'll just kind of go through the car and do what we see fit. So let me know below what you guys think we should do to the car. If you could go ahead and smash that like button for me, I'd really appreciate it. And, of course, feel free to throw a like. I'd really appreciate it. It helps out the video, and get subscribed for more content like this in the future. And thank you so much for watching.